Hello, I'm sorry I can't be there, but I want to talk to you today about developments at Paradisec, the Pacific and Regional Archive for Digital Sources and Endangered Cultures in Australia, and some really interesting prospects for ways of dealing with the data that I think will be useful for other archives as well. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that our project, which is in Sydney, Melbourne, and Canberra, is on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the Ngunnawal and the Wairarong, and pay respects to those people. So over the last 21 years, Paradisec's been using catalogues in various formats. So initially in FileMaker Pro, then in sort of Apache SQL configuration. Now it's in Ruby on Rails. But in each case, the catalogue is separated from the collection, but points to it via the item or the file name. So the catalogue itself doesn't contain the collection, it points to the collection. And what I want to talk to you about today is how we've taken an innovative approach to unifying the data and the metadata into a single set of objects. So the catalogue is as normal for these kinds of catalogs. You have a bunch of fields. They conform to various standards. They include controlled vocabularies and allow you to select from the controlled vocabularies for country, language, and so on. The catalogue also has API feeds that are picked up by various services, including Digital Pacific, which pushes our Pacific items out to people in the Pacific, the National Library of Australia's Trove, which is a service for really searching millions and millions of records, the Open Language Archives Community, or OLAC, which harvests our catalogue every day and then puts it into an aggregated set of material with pages per language, which Research Data Australia, Google, and so on. Once we have these feeds, they can get picked up by a number of different services. But one of the things that we've always done is to write excuse me, an XML file into the item. So here we have an item that's 005, and you can see that file that is being pointed to is an XML file, and on the right is the contents of that file. It takes the complete metadata set from the catalogue and writes it out as an XML file into the item in the collection. And you can see the item there has all of the metadata that's in the catalogue. So every time that catalogue entry is saved, it rewrites this XML file, which means that the items in that collection, and you can see them there, the WAV, the MP3, and so on, contain within them, within that item, the description of the item as well. So the issue is how to make sub-collections. So for example, out of our whole collection of 430,000 files, if we want to take a set of files to a particular village or a particular city or a particular language group, the items will come from a number of different collections in Paradisec. So you can see there we have item 1 with 20 files, item 2 with 2 files, and so on. If we just take those files and put them on a hard disk, they're essentially meaningless. And unless you have a catalogue, it's very difficult to know what's on those files. So what we do is we take those XML files, and now we're rewriting that in Research Object Crate, which I'll talk about in a moment. And we can run a routine that writes a catalogue of just that set of material. And that can be on a hard disk, or it can be in other ways of serving the information. We've written a routine, and we call it Data Loader, which harvests those files. So you can point it at the hard disk that you've just downloaded your files to. It writes a catalogue of just that collection in HTML, so it's very lightweight. And that can be delivered on hard disk or a Wi-Fi transmitter. So we're using Raspberry Pi Wi-Fi transmitters. These are great for remote locations in particular because in many places the internet is difficult and expensive to access, especially if you want to download large files. So we can load archival materials onto a USB stick, put it into the Raspberry Pi, and have that then available in a local area for delivery onto mobile phones, because most people are accessing this kind of material on mobile phones and not on computers. And there are some websites there that tell you about how we do this. Here's an example in Erekor village in Vanuatu, where people are accessing material from a range of different collections in Paradise X, some of them going back to the 1960s, some of them my own recordings from more recently. And they're accessing this on their mobile phones, and they're able to download those records, and they could be images, audio, video, or whatever. So in 2024, we've moved the Paradisec collection to Amazon S3 storage. So this is a whole new kind of storage, which is much cheaper than the storage that we had before on spinning disks. We've had funding from the Australian Research Council, and this has allowed us to make this migration, but also at the same time to migrate the metadata to a format that's being taken up by the Language Data Commons of Australia. It's a federally funded project now going for another 4 years, which is building a commons for language data. That is a way of allowing language data to be accessed, including its access conditions and licensing information. And this is using Research Object Crate. And the great advantage of this from our perspective is that once you have a base of data in this format, which is a common format, you can build tooling that can be used for many different projects. And so Paradisec can benefit from participating in this project. So what is an RO crate? It's written in JSON LD, and you can see that on the right. So it's just a text document that's included together with the data inside a directory. It's a lightweight approach to packaging research data together with metadata. And it means that the collection at rest, that is the collection sitting on a disk, is completely self-describing, and it conforms to schema.org. So it's conforming to the relevant standards. And the LD bit there means that it's linked data. So where possible, the data has some kind of authority file. So as you can see on the right, the person identifier has an ORC ID, which allows it then to be linked off to other kinds of information about that person. RO crates used in a number of different scenarios. So here we have bio computing that are using RO crate. It's an emerging specification, so it's still being developed, but at the moment it's working very well for our entire collection, which is 230 terabytes of material. And it allows us to do interesting things with the data. So you can see here we have the Paradisec collection. It has API feeds, as I said, that go off to various aggregators and presentation systems. The catalog itself is still running in Ruby on Rails as a database, but now we have an RO crate export, and that allows an open search viewer, which I'll show you a demonstration of in a moment, but it also pushes out that collection so that the Australian Research Data Commons and the Language Data Commons of Australia can all read that material because it's in this common format. Everything's backed up, and we back up the RO crates as well. I'll just show you an example of what this allows us to do. This is a demonstration model that we built a couple of years ago, but it's still relevant. So here we have an item in the collection. This is looking at the RO crates now. It's not looking at the catalog at all. It's built, all of this is a viewer that sits on top of the RO crates. And here we can see that there are objects there. If we want to, we can play a file. Okay, so it's not playing it, but that's what you should be able to hear the audio playing there. And you can see that when you click on the play, it will follow through the text as you would expect. And that's just because there's an elan file sitting there with the media, and the elan file, and this is a file in LXT format, which is just a demonstration of how to do interlinear text, also with media. So the great thing for this is that we can do this presentation, and it just knows about how to present an elan file and a media file. We can search the transcripts, and here we are, we're searching for the word Kori, and unfortunately you can't hear it, but when you click on that, it plays that to you. And if it's a video, it'll play that as well. But what it's doing there is seeking into the file and playing you just that segment. And then on the right, you can see a little citation button. You can click the citation and use that in your research. So this is very powerful for us that we're able to search within the transcripts. This isn't currently possible in our catalogue because the catalogue is only searching the metadata. And you can search generally through the collection. So here we have as a normal sort of search mechanism, something that should match, something that does match, something that should not match, and so on. The format of the RO crate. So you can see it's just text, but it's all conformant to a data structure. So it allows this viewer, which is just an Elasticsearch, which is looking at the set of files and builds the viewer based on that set of files. So the set of files is now the source of truth rather than the catalogue, but the catalogue creates that source of truth. So the great thing about RO Crate is that it allows this common tooling and the viewers. So that viewer that we saw, it potentially could be used for other collections as well. The tools that we have for linking the audio to the transcript are there and available for anybody else who has an RO Crate collection that wants to use them. There are geographic viewers. So here we have the Language Data Commons of Australia viewer pointing at our Research Object Crate, RO Crate materials and presenting them to us in a different way than we do in our own catalogue, because it's got its own kind of viewer, and you can see a faceted search on the left of this material. Creato is a tool that is built to edit research object crates. So you can use Creato, you can grab it from that URL, and it allows you to edit research object crates. And that way, even if they're generated by a catalogue, but you need to tweak them in some way, you can do that using this tool. Again, common tooling that's available for any research object crate collection. So the benefits of using RO Crate is, one of the major ones is that you can keep using whatever cataloging system you're used to. So Excel or FileMaker Pro or Access or a database of some kind, as long as it can export to RO Crate. So you have to write a routine that takes that material and exports to RO Crate whenever changes occur in the data. But this then allows you to take advantage of common tools that are being written all over the world to operate over the RO Crate files. So for our future activity, we'll be increasing the use of linked data, and we're exploring some of this right now, even down to the level of text within files, because we can do that, but certainly within the metadata. The way that we expose the files using Research Object Crate, of course, subject to access conditions, increases findability of everything in the collection. And because we're part of a broader effort of the Australian Research Data Commons, we'll be able to use the tools that are developed by others in our own collection. Thanks very much.